Bridget. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a mid-year wrap-up. Mid-year reading wrap-up? Whatever. Same thing. Anywho. But I'm very late this month on this video. I meant to post this at the beginning of the month. But I came down with a cold. I was busy for one. And for two, I actually came down with a cold. I'm still kind of getting over it, so I sound a little bit funny and a little bit nasally. So bear with me. So let's get into this. Okay, the first book, I read so many books on Kindle. It is unreal. So the first book that I read is actually 4 books in one. And it is All He'll Ever Be by Willow Winters. I read this back in January. Yeah, January. In the month of January. I finished it up throughout the entire month. That was the one book that I sat down and I read physically on Kindle. I didn't listen to it because it didn't have audio. But I physically sat there and I read it. I read it for like 2 weeks straight until I got it finished. And I read it within the mix of actually remodeling this house. So there's a little sprinkle of information in there. Anywho, it was actually 4 books in one, but you can buy them separate. But this author put them all into one big book called All He'll Ever Be. But the 4 books separate is called Merciless, Heartless, Breathless, and Endless. So they're all separate, but they follow the same couple. Can't remember the names, but I remember the entire story. It's like so vivid and so... it's still in my head to this day. But anyways, it is a Beauty and Beast retelling. It's 100 chapters complete for all 4 books. Adds up to 100 chapters. Which these chapters are kind of lengthy. But that's a good thing though. That's what you kind of want in a book like this. And I'm happy that this book had such long chapters in it. But it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's mafia. So the man in the story, he's the mafia boss. And they kind of came from nothing, and they worked their way up. And he has 4 brothers or 5, I can't remember, but one of them is... So, and all 4 of his other brothers has their own books too, with their own women. And I never got around to reading them because this one is the most graphic book that this author has ever written. And it does have a lot of trigger warnings, but it is very good. It's very interesting. I gave that book a 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Even though I don't read books specifically like this no more, or tried my best not to. But I give it a 5 star. It was so graphic. It was a very dark book though. At times. Not throughout every single bit of it, but it ain't the worst book. It ain't as bad as Haunting Adeline. So, take that with what you will. It has killing. It has offing. It has kidnapping. It is a Grumpy to Sunshine. And it does have like a dom sub aspect to it. So, if you like stuff like that, it's for you. It's very good. And as in a Beauty and the Beast retelling, it necessarily isn't going to put you too much in the mind of a Beauty and the Beast. She does fall in love with her captor. And he's mean and very dominant in this relationship and in the beginning and everything. He kidnaps her. So, that's also another thing. He kidnaps her. I forgot completely about that. But he kidnaps her. That's, and she is the other mob bosses or the other mafia group's daughter. Like the main guy's daughter. And he kidnaps her. So, and then I'm just all mixed up in this story, but just go read it. It's a really good book, especially if you like it. But it does have some little dirty scenes in it, and it is kind of graphic. But, and like I said, I don't really try to read books like that. I really like closed door romance. I think that's what it's called. Where there's not like any spice in it. Because specifically, I don't like that because of just who I am and my religion or my relationship with Jesus. I try not to read stuff like that. Okay, so book number 2, and this is technically 3 books, and it is ACOTAR. It is A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I gave a 4.5. And if you know anything, if you don't know nothing about ACOTAR, anything about ACOTAR or A Court of Thorns and Roses, or Mist and Fury, or Wings and Ruins, or the other 2 books in the series, go to somebody else's video who will explain it better, because I will not explain these books the best, but I did like them. They are fantasy, and they are fairies, which is fae, and humans, kinda. So, or it isn't kinda, that is what the book is. So, if you like stuff like that and you like fantasy, you will really like these books. But if you ain't never heard of these books before, you must be living underneath a rock. And they're by Sarah J. Maas. I've heard people say her name Maas and Moss. Maas. Sarah J. Maas. So, I'm not for sure exactly how you say her last name, because now I question it. But anyways, the first one was A Court of Thorns and Roses. I gave that a 4.5. That was an awesome book. It had some twists in it. And I was a Tamlin's girl first. And then whenever the second book came out, you all should just know how it goes. And then Mist and Fury, A Court of Mist and Fury, I gave that a 5. I absolutely loved that book. It's the most highly rated book out of the entire series. It is probably the number 1 top book in the entire series, but excuse me. But it is a 5. I really liked it. I love the whole action scenes. I love the lovey-dovey scenes. I love how she falls in love with Reese. I loved the second book. It was awesome. And then Wings and Ruins, I give it a 4, only because I never finished it. I am going to try to re-pick up the entire series, read book 1 through 5. I think there's 5 books. 1 through 5 completely again. And I want to sit down and just do that all month long and reread it. But I don't even remember book 3 at all, pretty much. I know that I think it's in that book. I think it's in book 3 where the Farrah's sisters get thrown into the cauldron and they turn into fae. I think that's in book 3. And I think that's where I might have left off at, but I'm not for sure. So, I remember they got married. Rhysand and Feyre. I remember they got married. Spoilers, by the way. So sorry. I think they got married. I'm not for sure, but I think that might have been where I left off at. I cannot tell you for sure. But I loved them. Oh, and I wrote down, I only got to chapter 21 in book 3. So, whichever chapter that is. Okay, on book, technically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On my book number 5, I read It Starts With Us, and I gave that by Colleen Hoover, and I gave that a 4. Anybody who read that book really, really loved it, especially when it came out. Now, people kind of judge it a little bit more than what it is, but I liked it. It Ends With Us. That's the first book. That's the one I give a rating of a 4. But book 2 was about maybe a 3.5. I don't know. I wish that there was more of Lily and Atlas. I really, really like them. I wish there was more story to them. I wish it showed more of a happily ever after to them. I wish there might have been a book number 3. Like, a lot of that stuff, I understand there was character building. I understand the whole thing, why she did everything in the book. But for me, I just really wanted it just to focus on Lily and Atlas so bad. But it was good. I liked it. But I do give it a 3.5. Number 6 is Behind the Wand by Tom Felton. This is a autobiography. If you don't know Harry Potter and you ain't a Harry Potter fan, you will never know who this guy is. But he played Draco. This little feller. He played Draco in the Harry Potter series. He is one of my favorite characters in the series. other than, you know, the trio and everything like that. But he's one of my favorite. You can't help but to love him. But in this book, he talks a little bit about his life and a little bit about his time on the set of Harry Potter and the people on Harry Potter set, the other actors, kind of. It does have, it's a hardcover. I can get it off, but it has like gold foiling on the spine of it, but the rest of it's just a plain old black book. It does have pictures, just little pictures of him whenever he was in childhood, and just, I love it so much. I can turn it. But he has the pictures of him, like Emma Stone. It's not her name. Emma Watson. Has a picture of her and Emma Watson in there, and he kind of tells how like she had a crush on him. And just, it's an awesome book. I did fly through this within the day. The day I got it in the mail is the day I read it and finished it. It is very, very good. I really liked it. He explains so many things so nicely. And if you are a Harry Potter fan, pick it up. Pick it up. I want to read Alan Rickman's memoir and book and everything. I'm not, technically, I think it was a journal, technically. I can remember. I might be making that up. But I really want to read his book just so I can say, hey, I've read both their little memoir-y books. I think that's what it's called, as a memoir. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anywho. I really, really liked it. I really recommend it. And we all gotta love just some Tom Felton. We just love him. Book 7 is Forget Me Not by Willow Winters. And these may or may not be in order, by the way, but Forget Me Not by Willow Winters. I gave it the rating of a 3. And this is why. I was so confused in this book and by this man's character, because he had like split personality disorder, I think. So he thought he was 2 different people. And I didn't understand that until almost the end of the book. Like, it didn't make no sense. She just kept talking about there's these 2 men. And talking about she don't know if it's James or Josh, or because I think it was 2 J names if I'm not mistaken, but she couldn't tell which one he was, and I didn't understand that. Like, how do you not know who he is and you've seen him? But apparently she got kidnapped whenever she was little, and the boy that was in the house is this same guy who kidnapped her. We're gonna call him Josh for now. He re-kidnapped her. Or his father kidnapped her and locked him in the basement, and he done nasty stuff to him when they was children and stuff. And it just, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it was so confusing. I did not like it. It was just odd. That's all I can say. It was a good book. But I give it a 3. I didn't like it that much. And that's saying a lot, because I usually like all my books. Number 8 is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This book, I listened to it on Kindle. And it took me a little bit to get through it. It was good. It just drug on a little bit for me, is what I have down on my notes. It just kind of drug on for me a little bit. The girl falls in love with the boyfriend's dad, and the dad falls for the son's girlfriend. That's that kind of book. So, and I gave that a 3.5. It was good, but it drug on a lot. And it was a little odd. Not gonna lie. It was a bit odd. And then number 9 was Twisted Love by Anna Hong. And I liked it. But it was a bit slow, and it felt like it didn't have too much of a good plot in the first book. This is the first book of a 4-book series, and I only read 2 of them. The first book was The Twisted Love, and I did give it a 3.5 only because I felt like it didn't have such a good plot. It was mostly worried about like spicy scenes and stuff, and I didn't really care for that. I wanted some story and background to this. It gave a little bit more background, which it did have some twists and turns. I will give that much about the girl's dad and stuff. But it just drug on. I didn't like it. And then book number 2 was Twisted Games. Twisted Games, it follows a princess named Bridgett, which eventually becomes queen, and then she falls in love with her bodyguard. And it's kind of a grumpy sunshine in a way. They eventually fall in love. It did have a really good plot, better than book 1. And this is where the book I left off at because I was tired of these books. I was tired of this world. To me, it was boring a little bit. And I know a lot of people love these books, but I just couldn't get into it. But it was a good romance book. It did have some good romance scenes in it, a good romance plot to it. But I just didn't like it. I liked how she fell in love with her bodyguard, though. I really liked that. It's kind of like a forbidden love. That's what I was looking for. It's kind of like a forbidden love. The next 2 books, book 11 and 12, was 1,000 Boy Kisses and If He Had Been With Me. And I have a full video about all my sad book, my 2 sad books I read for May. And them 2 was 2 of them. I read this one physically, and then I listened to the audio for 1,000 Boy Kisses. 1,000 Boy, let me start off with this one. If He Had Been With Me, I gave it a 3. It was slow. I didn't like it that much. Go to my other video for more information on it. I didn't like it. It was alright. A lot of people really like it, but I didn't. It was supposed to be super sad. I could understand where it was sad at the end, but I didn't like it. And then there's supposed to be a prequel come out to the boys' point of view. This is following the girls' point of view. The second one is the boys' point of view. But 1,000 Boy Kisses, same for this. Pretty much go back to my other video for more information on it. But I gave it a 5 stars. I would technically give this a 6-star rating if that was a thing. And I don't have that many 6-star books. So that's a major thing for that to be a 6-star book. But anyways, I gave it 5 stars. It was the saddest book I have ever read. Number 13 is Don't Let Me Fall by Kelsey Ray. It follows a girl who falls for her boyfriend's best friend, and he falls for his best friend's girlfriend. It was very good. It had a good storyline and everything. Number 14 is Credence by Penelope Douglas. I read, I think, 3 Penelope Douglases this year, if I'm not mistaken. Credence, it was a odd story, but I liked it. It was really good. It had a very good plot line and everything. But she falls, and hear me out before you judge this book. She falls in love for her uncle by marriage. Just hear me out. Her parents off themselves and will her to her uncle. But I specifically remember somebody saying this was a mystery book. Somebody lied to me. Anywho, it's a really good storyline. I do give it a rating of 5 stars just because of the storyline. It does have some spice in it. The storyline was so good that I didn't care. Book 15 and 16 goes together. It is 2 novels. It is Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline. I had to stop reading these books because they was just getting too much for me and too graphic personally. Could have been a 5-star for me, but if I like these kind of books, but personally for me, it was too much. It was too graphic. I did not like it at all. I did like a little bit of the storyline and everything, but it was too graphic. Number 17 was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I'm not really for sure how you say her name. I should have recorded myself reading this book or listening to this book, because my reaction whenever I heard so many things and so many plot twists in this book, oh my goodness. This was a good mystery book. It has to be at least my second favorite book of this year, because it is like, it's good. It has such a great storyline. It has a very big twist at the end, and I very much highly recommend it. I gave it a 5 stars. This would make it into my 6-star category. Like, it's awesome. Number 18 was Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. It was good. I liked it. It had a twist at the end. It is a best friends to lovers. So keep that in mind. A little bit of enemies to lovers in a way. Or a grumpy sunshine. I don't know. I think it would be more like a grumpy sunshine. But it is the best friends to lovers. It is slightly a mystery aspect in it. But it is not a mystery. Do not go into this book thinking it is a mystery. I did give it a 4. It was a good book. I liked it. I do highly recommend it. My 19th book was After by Anna Todd. Right off the bat, 5 stars. Love this series. Highly recommend it. Absolutely love it. It's like Grumpy to Sunshine. But I will put this in here. I hated how Hardin acted towards Tessa. I so muchly wanted to hate him through all this. So keep that in mind. He is very toxic. But for a book boyfriend, he's a good book boyfriend. But by no means, if it was a real life story, that would suck. Everybody would hate him if he was in real life. So 20? I think it's book 20 for this year. I think this means book 20. Was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I did try to read this with my 2 side books, but I did DNF it. I completely DNF'd it. I did not like it. A lot of people rave about this series. A lot of people say this is a good series. There is a TV show being made out of this, so it has to be good, but I did not like it. I might try to reread it in the fall, because it kind of gave like a fall vibe. It is a murder mystery type deal. I think that was 20 books so far, but that I'm not including my monthly TBR for July though, because technically that was past my mid-year. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I am very late putting this video up. I'm very late on it for a few different reasons, but the most reason is I procrastinated it and I was sick. So that makes my mid-year wrap-up reading list. I didn't read that many. I usually read a little bit more. Some months I read more than others. And I've been really slowing down on reading. Last year was a good reading year, but I obviously didn't film for none of that. So, but anywho, I technically read 24 books this year, which is pretty dang good. And I am counting All He'll Ever Be as 4 books, because technically it's 4 books, but I downloaded it into one, which that's how she kind of sells it, is like into one huge book. But it's technically 4 books in one, so I'm counting it as 4. So that's a lot of books. That's quite a few. I'm proud of myself. Minus the ones that I'm actually reading now, right at this moment. So that's a lot. I thank you so much for watching my video. Please come back for more. Come back for my July wrap up and see exactly what I read for July. Please come back and see if I read Fourth Wing or not and see what my thoughts are on it. So like and subscribe, please and thank you. And I'll catch you in the next one.